Hey everybody, this is the Rundown Mariners Postgame Show. I'm Joe, this is Felipe, and we are back. This is September 2nd, 2023, and the Mariners are in first place for the first time in September.
Yeah,
Alone. In forever.
In 2 days.
Yeah, well, first time. It wasn't September.
Much to celebrate.
Yes.
You know, as we know, this franchise hasn't celebrated a whole lot. So anytime that we're in first place,
yes,
it's such a huge deal to us, and I don't care if anybody makes fun of us.
Absolutely. I don't care either. We will celebrate. We'll put a banner up for first place.
Oh, God, no. Don't get me started on my opinions on the wild card banner in T-Mobile Park.
Yeah.
I just think it's... Let's just... Real quick. My opinion is that wild card banner needs to go.
Yes.
Okay? Because the fact that we have to celebrate our wild cards is just so sad. And all five of our playoff... Six?
Yeah.
Five of our playoff appearances are all on the banners.
Yeah.
That is so sad. But anyways, to the actual news of the day, Mariners... take a win from the Mets.
Yep.
Even up the series 1-1. They won 8-7 today.
Yep.
Little back and forth in the game today, but nonetheless got the win. And we'll get into it in a little bit. But some big news in the AL West that, compared with this win, is even bigger.
What?
Well, everybody else lost.
Oh, well, yeah. That's why we're in first place for the first time.
Well, yeah. But that's what I'm saying.
In September.
Yes. That's a very good day.
It's a great day. So let's take a look at today's game. The box score. All right. So let's start out with JP, and we all know what P stands for. Paul, or Penis. He went
John Penis Crawford.
That's right. Or Giant Penis Crawford.
Or
See? As you can see on the Twitter, John Penis Crawford. All right, let's go and look at the box score.
This is a little concerning.
JP with the go-ahead home run today in the 9th inning. He is awesome. He is back. He hurt his hand earlier in the game, a little bit concerning, but came back and later on put the team on his back, put the team on his giant third appendage with the home run, 3 for 4 today, and some great defensive plays. Teoscar Hernandez, 2 for 4, had a big blast, 3 RBIs. Canzone coming in. Calzone. First pinch hit home run of his career with Mike Ford on base because Ty France did leave. He got
that is concerning.
That is concerning. Hopefully he's okay because Mike Ford's the only first baseman on the roster right now. So we're going to have to see how that plays out.
And they could bring up... we won't get into that.
That might be somebody. We have a good player or something? I mean, there's some guys on waivers right now.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. But who else? Julio, another hit. I don't know. I just, as far as the batting goes, some few guys, putting in the regular showing really,
and the Stars led the charge today, which is for me the consistent part of the offense, which is good. Mm-hmm. Like I've been saying in our last couple of shows, my concern about this lineup has always been the bottom third of the lineup. Which if we just go back into yesterday's game when they lost 2-1, that was the big that was our costly part of the game was. Our secondary players not hitting, and not getting on base, not having discipline at bats, and we kind of saw that today as well. They were cold, but when you have your top guys like JP, Teo, Julio, you put in France in there. I know he left early today, but France is one of those guys. Eugenio Suarez, when they're consistently producing, you can get away with that, and it's nice to see, and especially with JP's emergence as all of a sudden he's, a power guy. He's been on a tear hitting home runs in the last 2 weeks. Yeah. You can get away with that, and in the end we got the win, which is really good.
One thing I will say is, like you said, they're being consistent. I think to be consistent, kind of get on a roll, you need consistent playing time. And one issue that I've been seeing is that our guys on the bottom third of the lineup are not getting consistent playing time.
You're saying that they filter too much through.
Too much. I think Haggerty's getting too many at-bats. Caballero has cooled down so much. I think the way Josh Rojas and Canzone have been playing since they've come over from Arizona, and Cade Marlowe, you got to.
And I like Cade Marlowe.
Yeah,
I like Cade Marlowe.
And so I think you got to give these guys as many at bats as you possibly can. Yeah. I don't know why we're still hitting.
And I know you've talked to me about. You've been super big on giving Mike Ford more at-bats.
Yeah, I think when we saw him get those consistent at-bats, he was getting multi-hit games. And he was getting on base consistently. I mean, even with his, kind of sparse playing time, for guys that have over 150 at-bats this season, I think he's like third or fourth on the team in OPS. So, there's something that you have to save for. It's not a small sample size anymore.
Yeah. And I think part of that is my opinion is always when you're trying to play around with it gets too statistical. They're trying to go too analytical.
Yeah.
At some point, baseball is just baseball.
Yeah.
Right. For example, I always bring up this example, but when Tampa was in the World Series in 2020 against the Dodgers, what was it that cost them the World Series was being too analytical.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You start pulling players into it. Okay, percentage this, percentage that. Mm-hmm. At a certain point, baseball is baseball, and you have to play it the way it is.
Yeah.
And I get it. You want percentage wise, and you want the upper hand, but sometimes that's just not how the game is played.
You just gotta let these guys play, and I don't know how you can get into a rhythm if you're playing every third day, every other day, and then you go out there and they expect you to perform, right? Yeah. And then you put too much pressure on yourself to perform too.
Right.
And so, what are we going to see, in your opinion, when Kelnick comes back, and now all of a sudden we have another outfielder out there? How are we going to get Canzone playing time? How are we going to get Cade Marlowe playing time? We still have more, and we still have Haggerty.
Who do you bring down?
Yeah.
And I think we can also talk about this in another segment, because I feel like that's a bigger conversation of what happens when Kelnick comes back. Yeah. But just as a short portion, I really don't think that he should start right away.
Yeah.
I don't think he's earned it. And I think there's you have chemistry right now, and he's been off for so long, and some of these guys do deserve the playing time. I don't know. I think again that's a conversation for another day. When that day comes that he does get called up, but I really don't think he should play right away.
Yeah. So let's look at the pitching for today. Luis Castillo, not a great showing for this probable Cy Young contender. 5 earned runs, 5 innings pitched, only 2 strikeouts, 2 walks. Not the usual showing that we see out of him. What did you see today?
Yeah, I feel like probably not as sharp. Yeah. Only 2 strikeouts, 2 walks, like you said. Only 5 innings pitched. He only threw 89 pitches. Yeah. So he got into a little bit of trouble there, because the Mariners did have a 7-3 lead, and then they kind of gave that up. Yeah. And part of that was Luis's undoing there late in his start. You brought up Cy Young. These starts for him personally are so critical if he really wants to go for the Cy Young. Yeah. Every start in September has to be solid. Yeah. Not a good September start for him. It wasn't bad, but if we're talking the caliber of player that he is, the caliber level that he's been playing at, has got to be more solid than that. And because they're playing a weaker Mets team, I think they got away with it a little bit. But nonetheless, he gave us 5 innings. Yeah. Pitched us through half the game, so I mean it wasn't super bad. Bullpen came in, they kind of did their job, stopped the bleeding a little bit, allowed us to kind of settle back into the game, and that's why we were able to win and pull it out. So not a terrible start, but not the classic, or not an ace start
Yeah.
Right.
One thing I saw from him was that his breaking balls weren't as sharp as they usually are, and he wasn't also able to locate his fastball as well as he usually does. He got himself in a lot of 2-3 ball counts where his fastballs were really, really way out of the zone.
Which is crazy to me because, Luis, when he came last year in the trade, was so dominant. Like, so explosively dominant. Even though, you don't use explosive as a to describe a pitcher. But in terms of watching him, right? I remember going with my dad to the first home game start against the Yankees that went extra innings, and he was just so dominant. And this year I feel like he's a little off, but it's crazy because his
stats are better this year.
Statistically he's so good still. Yeah. But something seems a little off. Like you do have those bits and pieces of games where he just kind of leaves a breaking ball here and there hanging. His fastball is not as well located as it has been, which is, again, I say crazy because imagine if he didn't have those, how much better he would. Like, I think it would just be no contest, Cy Young, right? Yeah. But nonetheless, Mariners got the win.
Yeah.
And that's all that really matters at this point. Every game is so critical now in September. Yeah. We all know that. But going into the conversation of what helped today was Yankees beat the Astros.
That's right.
And Texas lost to the Twins. They've struggled against the Twins all year. Brought that up in our last segment when we talked about the Mariners.
Yep.
Yankees 5-4 over Astros. Twins 9-7 over Texas. That gives the Mariners a 1-game lead.
1-game lead. Yep.
Houston's behind 1 game now. Texas is down 2 games.
Yep.
So their collapse continues, which honestly so beautiful to watch. So beautiful. It's just incredible how far they've come in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Love it.
Absolutely. As you can see on the screen right now, we have the Mariners alone in first place right now. The Mariners have 2 games in hand over the Astros as well. The Astros have the same amount of wins and 2 more losses, which will help come that last series when we play the Astros. That's going to be crucial for us. Projected wins, the Fangraphs, they still have the Astros to get more wins than the Mariners do, probably because of the sabermetrics. The Astros do have a higher run differential than the Mariners do at this point this year.
And I wouldn't be surprised, right? I don't want to be totally biased with the Mariners. Love the Mariners. You know me.
Yes.
I do have half of me that's just a big baseball fan. I try to be as realistic as possible.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised to see the Astros eventually jump the Mariners, but baseball's weird that way. You just never know.
Absolutely. I could also see that as far as looking at the strength of schedule right here. Mariners remaining strength of schedule at 515, and the Astros, their remaining opposition has on average a losing record. So I could see the Astros definitely picking up a game or 2 on the Mariners the rest of the year. Now, what's interesting is Fangraphs actually has the Mariners winning the division, a higher percentage to win the division.
2.
Yes, but we actually, since we've been tracking this, the Mariners have not had a higher win division percentage and a clinch by percentage over the Astros. So that's really interesting.
I wonder how many Astros fans are mad about that.
Oh, yeah, always. The Mariners live rent-free in the Astros fans' head. But what is even more interesting is even though the Mariners are favored to win the division over the Astros, to make the playoffs, the Astros are still favored over the Mariners. So I think when we get into the next couple of weeks, the Mariners won't be comfortable unless they have about a 3-game lead. And that's really what they need to do coming up.
And I just don't see that happening. No. I don't see them getting that big of a lead.
Yeah, I don't see that either.
I see it being very, very tight.
Yeah.
All the way through.
Yeah.
Now, that brings me to a point that I was talking to you about earlier, is one team that I do think that all 3 of these teams
should watch out for
or as the team that is north of the border,
Yeah.
the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
Okay? They haven't been playing super hot, but they are a game and a half back of the wild card, so they're right there.
Yeah.
They're right there. They're on the Rangers' heels. The Rangers really should be most concerned about them.
Yes.
First and foremost, right now.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
any sort of little hiccup for all three of these teams, the Mariners, Houston, and Texas, Blue Jays start to get hot.
Yeah.
They are right there to knock one of these teams out.
Yeah.
And actually, I kind of, it'd be exciting. I hope that they can stay consistent like that because they will get really tight and add more pressure to all three of these teams. Don't like the pressure on the Mariners, but the pressure on Houston and especially Rangers. I think Rangers should be really, really, really concerned right now because they're just playing bad baseball.
Oh, absolutely.
So, Blue Jays. Just watch out for the Blue Jays.
Looking here, remaining strength of schedule. Sorry for all the pop-ups. The Blue Jays have an easier remaining strength of schedule than the Rangers do. So, I mean, they're only a game and a half back.
Yeah.
And, if the Rangers are slumping and those last 6-7 games against the Mariners, they only win 2 of those. And the Blue Jays pull out 4 in their last 10,
And my hot take was the Rangers weren't going to make it.
Yeah. So that's really not out of the realm of possibility. The Blue Jays have a great pitching staff, and they have great young hitters. I mean, Bo Bichette was up there in the MVP conversation for a while, and Vladdy Jr., obviously a superstar, doing really great. So they've got the pieces. The Rangers, they also have the pieces, but I don't know. I'm not too sure about the Rangers. I don't feel as confident about the Rangers.
No, and I don't even think they're confident right now.
No.
And speaking of their good pitching staff, they have their ace going tomorrow in Kevin Gausman. So and they are playing against the Rockies right now.
Okay.
So I do think that the Rangers pick up a win tomorrow. Houston and the Yankees. You have Christian Javier going for the Astros against Michael King. I kind of expect Javier to have a good game. Astros, I think, are going to win tomorrow. Kenta Maeda versus John Gray. So Rangers, Twins. I think the Twins are going to continue their dominant season performance against the Rangers. So I expect the Rangers to drop another game.
Yeah.
And then Kirby versus McGill for the Mariners. I think the Mariners, it's a rubber match. I think Kirby's had such a great season.
Yeah, let's look at Kirby's stats actually over the season. Obviously, as we mentioned in earlier episodes, he is in the top 10 of Cy Young conversations, around the top 5, and he's got a 3.28 ERA and a 3.2 FIP. And Tyler McGill, who's starting for the Mets tomorrow, he not so great this year. 5.29 ERA and a 5.02 FIP. So really, again, Mariners going up against one of those high ERA kind of starters, kind of guys, and it's a game that they should win.
Yep, and I think it also depends if Ty France plays tomorrow as well. But would not be surprised tomorrow if by when it's all said and done, the Blue Jays are only a half game behind Texas. So watch out for that. I think that's super exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Any predictions on the game tomorrow?
I think if France goes, if France is able to play, I think the Mariners win. I think they win steadily. I think they win 6-2. 5-2, something in a dominant fashion. I think Kirby goes 6, maybe 7, against the Mets. If France does not play, I still think Kirby goes 6, maybe 7, but I think it's a little tighter.
Yeah.
And I only say that because the bottom half of that lineup has just gotten cold, which kind of I expected. I didn't expect them to be hot for the rest of the season. I think maybe it's more of a 3-2 game, 5-4 kind of thing. Okay. But I do think the Mariners will win.
Yeah. I'm thinking I'm going to agree with you there. I think this is going to be the first game where the Mariners of the series where the Mariners comfortably win. and then head to Cincinnati, hopefully with some kind of confidence there. Cincinnati, which tomorrow, in our episode tomorrow, we will be filming an episode tomorrow, we will talk about how Cincinnati's 2 waiver pickups kind of changes that team a little bit. Because even though they have a losing record, that is a good team.
Yes.
I really like that team.
And we get to see a couple of the ex-Mariners that we traded for Luis Castillo.
Noel V. Marte.
Noel V. Marte just called up a few weeks ago, so he'll be able to play against his former organization. That'll be really fun, really cool to watch. He actually just had his first walk-off win, I believe, last night for Cincinnati. So he's starting to get some traction there. So that'll be kind of exciting, kind of cool to see. But Mariners win tomorrow. That'll complete my prediction of them going 2-3 against the Mets. And then we'll talk more about Cincinnati tomorrow.
I think we'll leave that tomorrow because I actually have a lot to say about Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati is one of the more exciting teams in the league, and they're going to be a contender. If they can spend, they can be a contender for years to come. But we'll leave that for tomorrow, and we'll leave it here for today. The Mariners, another great win, back alone in first place. 1 game ahead. We'll hope to keep that running. And, man, they really like to give us a heart attack. There's no easy win for the Mariners.
Look, it's Seattle. It's Seattle. The Mariners do it. The Seahawks do it.
Yeah.
The Sounders do it.
Yeah.
It's just a Seattle thing. I don't know why. We embrace it. That's just the way it is. I've definitely... If I was planned to live for 100 years because of the Seattle teams, I'm only going to live for 75. So, but you know what? Love it. Love it nonetheless. Wouldn't want it any other way. Go Mariners. Right. Thank you for watching.
See you guys next time. Tomorrow.